Hi everyone, and welcome to an episode of Trident Talks. I'm Josh, the founder of Trident. Today, joined by Kristian Kamber, CEO of SplxAI. Hey, Chris.
Nice to meet you, Josh, and pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining. Chris, would you mind just giving a kind of bit of a rundown on your background and kind of what you did prior to starting the business?
Yeah, thanks. I'm an atypical founder, I would say, in the tech space. I used to work in GTM and SaaS sales for many years for Silicon Valley-based companies, and the last role I had was a leading role at Zscaler in Central Europe, where I was building and growing this commercial team. But I used to be, for many years, part of the Medic crew, which is well known in the space under Dali Reich and some other folks. So yeah, I always wanted to be a founder because I felt I can do more than just climbing the ladder of corporate sales, and this is what we're here right now.
Nice. Well, firstly, congratulations, by the way. And yeah, I know you guys are doing very well. So tell me behind kind of the founding team. Who are you guys? And also, what's the reason behind the name and the brand?
Yeah, so during COVID, I originally come from Croatia, so I came back to Croatia with my family in some uncertain times, and I knew that if I want to open up a startup, I need to have a technical founder who can build products. And I was looking for some people, and just a few years ago, I was meeting Auntie's brother-in-law, who's actually now my founder, and say, hey, if you know someone, just give me a shout. Who knows how to build product who was an AI, because that was the way to go. And he just called me when I was actually with my brother, who is now the head of marketing, building something completely different, right? And he was back then, so Andy was building back then an LLM-based product for BMW in Germany. He was working for a German startup before. He worked in AVL, which is the leading automotive consulting company. He was building, I think we talked about AVL, so he was building products for Ford, GM, and stuff. So really always custom software, which I was completely new to me because I used to work in the scaling product companies at Zscaler, Dynamics, Cisco. And he showed me the problem. He said, like, look, I have this LLM and chatbot, and I can't just put it in production. Legal is saying no, right? And I was looking into some security products. That was late 23. And I was looking at some security products, and they were only open source products like Nemo guardrails. It's super old style and old times for our industry, right? And he said, let's build a product. Let's build an AI gateway and put it on the market. Let's be the first one. Let's do something like zero latency on-prem, where you can easily filter input and output. And I first told them, okay, let's investigate in the market. And that's what we did with some German clients, some Central European clients, and obviously no one had really some ideas, and no one really knew what are we going to secure. And thanks God, we found our first client, actually Infobip, which is kind of Twilio of Europe. They're building those CPaaS. They're a CPaaS provider, unicorn, and they said, look, guys, we don't know what do you want to protect us against what, but let's try to figure it out. Let's break the chatbots we've built, the AI chatbots built on top of OpenAI, and try to exfiltrate those malicious content. That's what we did manually, and easily came to the idea. One of our red teamers said, we need to do red teaming. We need to do, so we had one guy from the faculty, some people were just finishing studies, and say, hey, let's automate the process as much as we can. Let's go shift left, do offensive security for AI from day one. And that's the good thing, because if you ask me about a USP, and I think we'll touch base on that, we've been doing that from day one. We haven't been switching and pivoting right from a defensive to offensive or offensive to defensive. We have been offensive from literally day one. So that's how the product evolved over times. Yeah.
Awesome. I think also talk about the USP, like you weren't a pen testing services company for 10 years that's now trying to pivot, right? Like, as in, like, do you know what I mean? Like trying to repivot, rework it. And I get it. I get why you do that if you were a 10-year-old company, right? Because you need to move with the times and modernize. But you are kind of native by trade, right? Because you've had to like, and then also like, it sounds like you found the timing, like almost like you kind of, it's all crossed at the same time, right? Rather than like being too early, or because if I think back to end of 2023, I don't think I knew much about an LLM, or I'd certainly not securing an LLM, because you can't deploy it in enterprise because legal compliance say no. So it's kind of like go time was almost like perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I recently read from Pramod Gosavi, who's one of the opinion makers in the security space, he said AI security can be only solved by AI people. Like, you need to understand how AI works, how non-deterministic it is. You can't just do a pen test and just 6 months leave it there. And you need to continuously evolve. You change 2 words, you change your context, change your language. Currently, the multi-language attacks still go through if you do it in Chinese and Arabic, whatever. You leave it just English behind. So that's why Infobip, which is our first customer, has built those chatbots on those real wild markets, Southeast Asia, Middle East.
Yeah.
And our second client was actually a Middle East client who was building a chatbot for Ramadan and sending gifts to Ramadan. And hey, and they don't want to talk to chatbot bad about royal family, labor rights, and so on and so on. And they cared about security or safety in a different manner, right? So we felt every region, every industry, every geo will have its preferences on AI security, different preferences. That was an interesting piece.
Yeah, because you're like now combining like geopolitics, culture, local, like colloquial kind of languages and different the slang as well. Like how? So let's get into the product then. So you've touched on it quite a lot already, but so you guys are an AI-driven offensive security platform that then tests and secure/hacks LLMs, agents, assistants.
Correct. So we have a researcher tool, which is scraping the latest white papers and the latest public data out of exploits. Because why would you care about a prompt injection or a jailbreak, which happened 3 weeks ago? Because OpenAI, they just patched it. Yep. What matters is the 0-day attack between a frame of, let's say, 3, 4, 5 days. So within those 3, 4, 5 days, you need to find a way how to break into those because they're new, right? So how to find them out. So what we do with the researcher tool, we scrape those things out of the internet and the public data. Then we have our 9 red teamers, 9 people who are basically with human in the loop, are cross-checking that and then embedding them in the platform because we don't want to have false positives. So what we do is we simulate thousands of attacks as we were a user, adversarial user. And we simulate those attacks and then we see what goes through. And when it goes through, we basically provide remediation steps with a system prompt hardening. We take your original logic. So when you always do something, you have a plan, you have a logic, you have a system prompt, and we create a new one with the know-how we have from the testing. And with the new one, you can basically later on add some AI gateway from any type of product. So mostly in the ideal scenario of a security, the offensive security platform should be different. The third-party tool should be different than the defensive capabilities you're using as the firewall, for example, because you want to be unbiased, you want to be flexible on giving your opinion.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So how is that then different to a larger offensive security provider who do like continuous automated testing? Well, they say it's autonomous, but there's still obviously is a human in the loop. There has to be. Like, how is that different? Maybe we touched on it earlier about like kind of being like AI native.
Yeah, it's only for AI, so we don't do classic web application firewall testing or anything because we don't have the skill. So we've been always AI, and it's evolving now with agentic. So for agentic security, you should imagine, okay, there is one application right now with several LLMs behind, so agents. Create one agent, and it gets very complex. And we've built this open source tool called Agentic Radar, which is checking you for transparency of the AI workflows. What you need currently is just transparency. What's in behind this kind of application? So last year, it was only one single LLM POCs. You have one chatbot, you have one LLM behind. It's built on top of OpenAI or Llamas, whatever. So that was easy. Now, we've built this radar exactly for us to create more transparency. And for example, Salesforce is using it for whitelisting MCPs, one of our clients. So with the MCP thing, you need to also understand what's the risk behind it. So I think moving forward, securing AI is way bigger than people know or expect. And that's why I think we can't focus on anything else, and also skills-wise.
Yeah, and also it's obviously the world's fastest growing sector, market, technology stack, everything. So why would you deviate into a web application? It doesn't make sense, right? Do you think there's ever going to be a time or a possibility whereby we can remove the human in the loop, like to do the QA and making sure there's no false positives? Do you think we'll ever get there in terms of securing the AI?
I don't think so as of current, because there is no logic behind. If you take an agent or an LLM, they also do not act and based on out of logic they're learning, right? So you can have a hard logic in behind. So yeah, it's a great question, mate. The problem is without human in the loop, how you want to cross test? It's impossible because they're autonomous. Autonomous agents, it's exactly about that. Autonomous agents means autonomous.
Yeah.
Right. So how you want to control that, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I had breakfast with someone very well known in the industry at RSA, right? And a little bit of a tangent, but it's worth it. And he's just raised funding for a second startup, sold his first one to PE, like hundreds of millions. And his is protecting. It's more guardrailing, right? So it's a very basic policy, etc. on the prompt side. But then he's like, we're going to get to a point in the world where the agents can run for longer than half an hour in a test, right? What do they say? Every 4 to 7 months it doubles, right? Right. And he was like, so in about 4 years, they're going to be able to run for a whole day of labor, 8 hours, give or take. And then you're going to say to them, hey, it's going to get to a point where you can say to them, hey, go away and fix this big, large global problem and come back in 2 years' time. And he was like, his worry is, and this is Terminator shit, right? His worry is that the agents then can start learning off other agents who are in the ether doing the same thing because they've been prompted to, hey, go and do this for 2 years. And then they're going to start communicating and they can build their own neurological behaviors. And he's like, then they're going to start like being able to circumnavigate like the prompts, the policies, the guardrails. And then therefore that won't be enough anymore. So we're going to have to like then control how they learn and what they learn off each other, not just from what we give them or from the LLMs.
And you need to limit them. So guardrailing is a very good example because a lot of companies offer very aggressive guardrails, and then they just don't show the full capabilities of one application. So you basically, as a customer, might gonna drop because it says, hey, I don't know the offer, super aggressive, right? So that's why the human in the loop for cross testing, and I think. But what we helped with the automated testing enhanced by AI and for AI, I think is for red teamers who are basically doing all manual. So you can't just do all manual. It's high cost. It's low return of invest. It's super. I mean, you're losing competition. So that's why I think what we do, the 98, 95% of automation of those AI red teaming is good, but still you need to have a very good red teamer to cross check and cross do the checks like before you put anything in production. I mean, that's always as part of software development, I think, the case. And that's why I think we're full believers to put that in the CI/CD pipeline. So when you always have these iterations where you can cross-test as well,
Yeah, awesome. Last question, Chris. What's the future of the company? What's the future of SplX? Where are you guys going? And also, we spoke about this already. You're going to be at InfoSec, right? So if anyone's watching, they can meet you. I'll put links in here to you to contact you, reach out.
Absolutely, yeah. We're exhibiting in InfoSec, many events this year, everywhere basically, which is cybersecurity. The future of the company is very exciting because we're obviously building a bigger platform. So we've been always shift left, and I understand and people now asking us for defensive capabilities, which is natural. We have done that, but we never went out with it because we felt, okay, we need to improve latency. We don't want to fight the market, which is like with a lot of players. And I think recently it showed us that we won a big bake-off POC against Protect AI and Hidden Layer on the defensive piece. And now we're going to build an end-to-end platform, and we're going to go with a full rebranding 2.0 in June, where we have, of course, guardrail AI fine-tuned policy. I think the difference between out-of-the-box guardrails and kind of fine-tuned is that we, after the testing we have and the insights we have on the testing, we'll create custom policies for our clients immediately. So you'll have custom policies for guardrails. So you don't need to tweak them yourselves and add the aggressiveness and whatever and the threshold. So, and then of course compliance and governance piece. So as the Gartner Prism model says, I think fulfilling all the 3 main pillars of AI security and try to be the best there. So that's the way moving forward.
Awesome. Chris, good luck. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you at InfoSec.